innocent from hidden faults. I need a declaration of my innocence that my sins would be forgiven. And then watch what he says in the next verse, verse 13. Psalm 19:13. Keep back your servant also from what? Presumptuous sins. You see, in that psalm, as he meditates on general revelation and special revelation, and he comes together with a right view of God, the holiness and the perfection of God, he's concerned about his own life, and he's sitting there going, I can't presume upon this God. This God is holy and perfect. Keep back your servant from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. Then my way shall be blameless, and I shall be innocent of what? Great transgression. The psalmist sees presumption upon God to be a great transgression. God, keep me back from presumption that I would presume that you somehow have to do something for me or act a certain way to me. That is a great transgression. God, I don't want to presume anything upon you. God is not bound to do a thing for you. Say, dear preacher, you don't understand. I do this, and I do this. Then, I deserve. Be very, very cautious. You don't deserve. I can take the same scenario. You want to take the same scenario? God, I read my Bible every day. God, I pray every day. God, I witness almost every day of my life. God, I'm leading my family. We have prayer time and Bible time. We go through the Scriptures every day as my family. We do our memory verses together. We sing together. No, we just open the hymn book and sing. It sounds terrible. We sing and we love you and we worship in my home every night. God, with all the good things that we're doing, you should want me to presume upon God that because I did those things, then God owes me something? That I'm going to put God in a description here that God has to do something because I've done all of this? It is a dangerous thing to presume upon God. It is far more wise to submit unto His authority, to lay your life before Him and say, have thine own way. God, if I read my Bible and pray every day for the rest of my life and you never bless me with a thing, you are still worthy to be sought after all of my days. Just intrinsically, by His own worth, He is worthy to be served and worthy to be worshipped. Now, as we look at our texts, 13 and 14, the presumption of a fool. It is foolish, and I call it a fool because it is a fool. 13 and 14, there are 5 presumptions the fool makes. 5 presumptions. They're very clearly here. We fall into these traps, but here they are very vividly before us. Number 1, they choose their own time. Today or tomorrow. Today or tomorrow. They choose their own time. This is what I'm going to do at this time. They choose their own place. This city or that city. They choose their own duration. I'll leave here and go there and I'll spend a year there. I'll spend 2 years there. I'll serve over here for a little while. I'll serve over there for a little while. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. We'll make $1 here. We'll make $1 there. I'll work at this job and then I'll work at this job and then I'm going to switch from this job. I'm going to get a pay raise over here. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get this job and I'm going to make this kind of income and I'm going to have this type of 401k and I'm going to retire when I'm 52 and I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing what I want to do because quite frankly, it's all about me anyway. It's a fool. They choose, number 4, they choose their own business. Will make trade, or we might say, engage in business. I'll choose my job. I'll choose my career. I'll choose my direction. I'll choose all of these things. Number 5, they choose their own goal. We'll make a profit. On time, on place, on duration, on business, and on goal. They choose all of that for themselves, that there's something missing. They forgot to talk to God. They forgot to talk to God. You remember chapter 4 in the beginning? You have not because you ask not, but even when you ask, you don't receive because you've asked wrongly. You spend it on your own passions. I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to ask God to bless what I've already decided to do because I presume that He likes the way I'm doing it better than the way He wanted me to do it anyway. And so then my prayer is like, God, will you bless this that I've already decided to do? But God, you know what? If you won't bless it, I'm going to do it anyway. This is the way the fool lives. The fool just goes through life making their own decisions, going their own directions, and God is not the one who is sovereign over them, directing them. They're basically living it up for themselves. All of their plans can be summed up in such a way that shows that they thought that they knew it all, they had the power to accomplish it all, and they thought they were immortal. Do you think you're immortal today? You think you're going to make it? You guaranteed tomorrow? Tomorrow when I get up? Maybe. Oh, that's just what the preacher says. Yep, and one day it'll be true for you as well as for me. Note, a man who thinks that he can map out his whole life better submit himself to the one who drew the map. Two specific reasons they are foolish. Number one, they do not know what tomorrow will bring. They don't have the foggiest clue. By the way, I have to say this because some people, you just accuse the preacher of whatever you want to accuse him of, but I have to say this and put this in here. I don't think there's anything wrong with planning. I just think there's something wrong with planning without God. I have plans, I have appointments, I have a schedule. I sometimes write stuff down on a piece of paper. Not very often, but sometimes I do. I don't think that's wrong, but I'm not going to set store by those because I don't know if they're going to happen. You do not know what tomorrow will bring. I might go do this tomorrow. I might leave Thursday, and I might leave Friday to go to Louisiana to preach. I may be dead. If I am, I'm not preaching in Louisiana. My car may not crank on Friday. If it don't crank, I really don't care. Because if it don't crank, then there's nothing I can do about it anyway. And so you say, well, what will happen? I guess I'll stay here and I'll listen to Brother Ben preach. I don't know. But I'm not going to worry about it. We just let God do whatever God wants to do. I've got a plan, but if it don't work out, I'm not going to sell my life. I don't care. It's whatever God wills. So number one is they're foolish because they don't know what tomorrow will bring. But here's the worst part of their foolishness. They don't know what their life is. Now you need to think about this. I'm not going to look all these up because there's way too many of them to look up. But I want you to hear a description. This is not the preacher's interpretation, but I want you to get a vivid illustration and understanding of what your life is. I want you to know you are not as strong as you think you are. You're not. You're not strong enough. You want to go back to the bicycle language? You think you got it all together and you can win the Tour de France? Then yesterday get on your bicycle and go south. You'll find out you're not strong. You pedal hard as you want and get up to about 2 miles an hour and you'll be crying like a baby. It's not as strong. Your life is just not that strong. What is your life? Job says, my days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle and come to an end without hope. Job says, remember that my life is a breath. As the cloud fades and vanishes, so he who goes down to Sheol does not come up. As quickly as the cloud passes. My days are swifter than a runner. They flee, and I see no good. They're like skiffs of a reed, like an eagle swooping over the prey. Swoom, gone. A couple of seconds. Man is born of woman a few days and full of trouble. He comes out like a flower, like my tulips. They came forth. I took pictures. They were pretty this year. And it's like a week later, I'm like, what happened? It looked like stinking dead sticks. They're really pretty with yellow and vivid colors mixed in. Some of them, I was like, this is wonderful. Yeah, it looks like somebody don't know what they're doing around there now. Like a flower, it withers. Your life is a shadow, and it continues not. It's a shadow, gone, no stability. Behold, you've made my days a few handbreadths. Surely all mankind stands as a mere breath. Say, la. Just a breath. Gone. In just a moment, you will be no more. You know what's sad? People won't even remember you. I was talking to a preacher this morning. He said, you remember when we went to that conference? Yeah. He said, who was speaking? I don't have the foggiest clue. I don't even remember them. Made a great impression on my life. I don't even know their name. I know that in just a few years, you won't even know my name. You remember who was pastoring here in 1927? You know, the foggiest clue. Gone. Your life is just like that. Gone. For my days pass away like smoke, my bones like a furnace. My days are like an evening shadow. I wither away like grass. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field. The wind just passes over it, it's gone, and it's known no more. Man's like a breath. His days are like a passing shadow. Stop regarding man, in whose nostrils is breath, for of what account is he, says the prophet Isaiah. My dwelling is plucked up and removed from me like a shepherd's tent. Like a weaver, I've rolled up my life. He cuts me off from the loom. From day to night, you bring me to an end. All flesh is grass, and all its beauty like the flower of the field. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of our Lord shall endure forever. You can do what you want to do with that. You can analyze that however you want to analyze it. But I can tell you, I've analyzed it much in my life. And I can tell you this, I am not interested in frivolous things that have no meaning of eternal value. I just have no interest anymore. Have I had interest at times? Surely. You say, well, you ride a bicycle, or you run, or you do this. Bodily exercise profiteth little, but with godliness there is great gain. I understand that there's no lasting value in physical exercise. It has a little bit of profit to it. It gives me sanity where I don't beat my head on concrete and kill myself. So it gives me some sanity. But with godliness there's great gain. Let me tell you this. I'm not interested in investing in those things that have to do with worldliness and of the world, because they're gone. I'm gone. In just a few years, I'm 43, in just another, my life is over half over. I'm going to be dead. Some of you are on the last little hurdle. You got 100 yards left. What are you going to do? Pour out your heart for God. Can you imagine? You'll say, well, I'm just going to retire someday, and I'm going to walk down the ocean and pick up seashells. And you're going to stand before the living God and say, here's my seashells I collected. Are you going to just piddle around with nothing, and you're going to show up and say, well, God, I've just been kind of hanging out? You can live that way, and your life's going to be gone. Or you can stand before the living God and say, look, I analyzed this whole thing. My life was short. It was a breath. It was a shadow, and it was going to be gone. So I just sold myself out. I poured myself out for you, God, and I don't know what all I accomplished, but I know that I lived for your glory, period. You can live that way. Or you can live for the world and presume that your life is going to last. But just like last Sunday morning, as the lady on Nob Hill Road gets up to go to church and pulls out on the road, and the car hits her, and she's dead instantly. She was on her way to church, but when death comes, all your plans fail. They all fail. It could happen this day. This day. You can have a heart attack. You can have a seizure. You can have a car wreck. You can just stop breathing. By the way, you done forgot to tell your heart to beat in this sermon anyways, and God could tell it to stop. He can. People fall over dead in church sometimes. You've got no guarantee whatsoever, and yet you live for the world like it's going to last forever.